All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm going to walk you through, move this to the other side here, this presentation, which is crypto for business owners, getting you accustomed and making sense of the future that's coming very quickly, crypto and the future of money. So you may have heard about it, you may have some sort of preconceived notions, and my intention with this conversation is to help get you equipped to understanding what it means to you as a business owner. Today, it's April 2021, and my intent is to get you up to speed so you can understand how to take advantage of this shift that's happening. So let's get started. So the agenda, real quick, is the future of money, and I'm going to go through this first presentation, which is going to cover investment as a vehicle for storing your capital, money as a battery, the crypto solution to part of the investment and money problems, network effects and why crypto is a network effect, and then investing in vehicles that have network effects. And so that's broadly what I'll cover. And if you join the Q&A, you can ask questions, and anything that comes to mind we can talk about in person. So obvious disclaimers, this is not financial advice, it's purely entertainment. For learning purposes only. Everyone's situation is different. Do your own research and calibrate according to your own risk profile. So money, let's start there. It's where most Bitcoiners and crypto people like to start. Money is a vehicle for sending yourself value into the future. So you work for a paycheck, or you work for, the contract that you get. For that work, you're paid in a currency. That currency is a method for taking the work that you've done and storing it into a paper note or into a device in such a way that you can transfer it to somebody else later. So you store the work that you've done on a piece of paper that is then tradable and barterable, essentially, for any other good or service that you want to pay sometime in the future. So the first thing to know about money, or to understand, is that it's just a vehicle. It's one of the vehicles that stores value over space and time. Now, what I'm going to get to is there are many different types of vehicles, actually. And even within currencies, here being in the U.S., we're a little bit U.S.-centric. We sort of forget that there's the euro and, the yen and all of these other currencies, which are other vehicles for storing and sending yourself value in the future. And, this might sound obvious, but you want to pick vehicles that store your capital over time and grow instead of decline. And cryptocurrency is a new type of vehicle for storing and sending value across space and time. So there are different vehicles that compete for access to the monetary energy that we want to store. They have different risk profiles. You can see there's sort of differences in their liquidity, their risk. They have different attributes. Gold is harder to ship than, let's say, a dollar. A bill is easier to send than some type of silver. There's sort of storage, there's different attributes, there's different aspects of value approval. And the way I want you to picture this is really that there's all these vehicles, almost like on a racetrack. You can almost picture all these circles as speeding ahead into the future. I can put my dollar into a currency. I can put my dollar into a treasury bill, into a bond, into a stock, into a house, like an asset, paintings, art, gold. These are all ways that humans, store their capital. And they have the quality of being sent to yourself in the future. So a home may accrue value over time into the future. A luxury sports car may decline in value over time into the future. It might be leaking some of the value that it contains. And we want to both send ourselves that value in the future, but we also want to be able to send it through space and time. We want to be able to trade it and swap it with other people. And crypto is an innovation, and it's a new asset class for storing and sending value through space and time, because it's the first digital native internet currency, which gives it all different properties than anything we've ever been used to before, which have all had essentially physical properties. Now, the question that everybody has to ask themselves, whether you're an investor or not, is what is the most efficient way to store the capital that I work for myself in the future, so that there's actually more buying power than less. And, we don't have to go into this, but so every person needs to decide, do I want to be in 100% currency? Do I want to be in a currency in a bond? Do I want to be in a currency, a bond, in a home? And for reasons we don't need to get into, my thesis is that workers are forced onto a greater degree of the risk curve to retain their buying power. And so general inflation to our currency, to the US dollar, is 2% a year. So if you think about this as a vehicle, a currency as a vehicle, as you send it to yourself in the future through space and time, every year that you hold cash, you lose 2% of your value. So each year you're losing 2%, 2%, 2%, 2% is declining from the value you worked for today. It's almost like that vehicle is leaking energy over time. As we work as employees, or if we work for ourselves, we look to increase our salary, right? We look to increase our buying power, our capital. And so you might get something like 15% a year growth on your income. That might be aggressive for some people. That might be not very aggressive for some people who maybe own a business. But there's some aspect of building wages that grow every year. You hold it in a currency like the dollar that declines in value every year. You might put it into a bond, that keeps sort of 2% a year, so it's sort of neutral asset to hold. You might own a home that increases at 5% a year. And as I said, these all have different liquidity, risk, attributes, storage, value accrual properties, right? So the home might store your value better, but it's not as liquid, right? It's very difficult to sell. It might take months. It might swing in price. It might be volatile. So there's many things to consider when it comes to storing your value in a home. It's a big decision. And now we're going to get to the point of really this whole talk to the heart of it. So if you buy stock in a company, you are taking the capital that you're working for, instead of holding it in a currency, which is a vehicle that's sort of neutral, although the US dollar declines slightly, you're infusing that energy that you've stored up from the work you've done into a vehicle that is a joint venture by many people working together to make that capital more productive. So an investment in a company, a public company, a private company, is all about putting your dollars to work across space and time in such a way that, sorry, there's some music playing. I'm just going to close this. In such a way that people take that capital and work on your behalf to grow the value over time of the company, of the entity. And so what you start to see is, if you're to store your capital in something like a home versus Tesla stock, or just even cash currency versus Tesla stock, you're going to accrue more value every year. Instead of losing 2%, 2%, negative 2%, negative 2%, by holding a stock or a bond or some other asset, you might pick up, it's almost like a snowball, gaining value. So you're sending yourself more value in the future than what you have today. And so, the great thing about owning Tesla stock, as an example, is it's like harnessing the power. It's like having a vehicle that harnesses the power of 1,000 employees, working their asses off, basically, for one of the greatest CEOs of all time, in my opinion, to build a snowball of wealth for yourself. And then we're going to get to crypto and how that is a vehicle that's new, that's Bitcoin specifically. And this stat might kind of blow your mind, has gained 200% value a year for the last 12 years when you average it out. So it's accruing value at 200%, 200%, 200%. There's swings, there's volatility, which we can discuss, but it is a vehicle that is very productive and has very unique properties. So I'll wrap this slide by saying we all have to decide the most productive way to grow our capital. Cash itself is not a super productive vehicle, while it has some stability in its qualities. We look to grow our wages, which increases the amount of capital we can apply to these different vehicles over time. And I think there's a new vehicle, crypto, that is very interesting and very potentially rewarding for ourselves in the future. So my question to everybody listening is, can you outwork technological adoption curves? Do you think that your own personal productivity can outpace that of the productivity of a technology that is gaining adoption? And the answer is no. We can't outwork technological network effects. In fact, what we do instead is we plug into them. And so just to go back real quick to this slide, for my wages, if I think I can make 15% a year, do I think I can work harder and be more productive than 1,000 people working 24/7 at a company like Tesla who are using AI and automation to become more productive and hitting scale? And Tesla, at least at this stage, arguably isn't even a network effect type business. So can we as individuals outpace the growth that can happen within a technological adoption curve? My response would be no. Like I don't feel I have the hubris to be able to outwork Google's AI engineers in becoming more productive. And so instead, what you want to do is you want to plug into them. You don't want to avoid them. You don't want to focus on your own. You want to focus on your own wage growth, but that's not the only thing. You want to take advantage of technological adoption curves as they gain steam. And you do that by plugging into the leverage of the technology that's being built. If you went through the internet transition, if you're born pre-internet, there was a moment in time where you recognize the importance of plugging your business into the internet to find more leverage and value, and it probably massively increased your own productivity and the productivity of your business. Then social media came along, and you said to yourself, I can't beat this thing. I'm not going to outsell door to door. I need to plug into social media to scale my company. And my point here for you as a business owner is to plug into crypto the same way you've plugged into the internet, the same way you plugged into social media. And we're going to get to how in the next session. Here's the internet network effect. Network effect, you probably understand this, but basically as more nodes join the network becomes more valuable, and things move at an exponential rate because more people connect to the network as they kind of each bridge to their own networks. So here's the curve. Millions of users of people on the internet. I think this is up to 2010 only, and that was 1.7 billion people. So it took 15 years, and there was a longer tail behind this, but for 1.7 billion people to get brought on to the internet, the network effect of the internet. Social media network effects looks very similar, right? Facebook starts in 2005, by 2011, 6 years later, 700 million users are using Facebook. They're plugged into the social media network because of the leverage and value that it provides. And what I want to show you is that the crypto asset network effect is right, passing through that S-curve adoption moment where it's going to come very quickly. It's going through the network effect. And what you can see here, and I know this is a little small, is there's the telephone network effect. I can't read that. It might be the radio network effect. The color TV, VCR, cell phone, computer, internet. Each one is speeding up, right? Here's internet user growth versus crypto user growth. They're speeding up because as communication improves, network effects can happen faster. So this crypto thing is going to happen very quickly. And that's why I think it's relevant today to start paying attention. So without going too much into the weeds at this stage, the crypto economy is a new vehicle. It's a new asset class for storing and sending value digitally. And it has all these different attributes that make it a 10x improvement to the previous paradigm. So if you think about how much better the internet is at sharing information than the newspaper, the internet succeeds because it's at least a 10x to 100x better than what you can do in the physical realm. And that advantage is also part of the network effect. And the crypto asset economy, the internet of value, which is really what's emerging, is a 10x improvement to our physical world of the financial system, our physical world of some of these vehicles that we use to store value, because it's has all these attributes. And again, we can go into this in detail in our conversation if you join one of the live conversations to ask questions. But it is immediately global. It is fully transparent. It's permissionless. Anybody can plug into it. Like the internet, it's fully settled. There's no delay in value transfer settlement. It's auditable. It's forkable. It's programmable, which is the most important thing. And so to explain this, The internet allowed us to share media through space and time. Across space and time, if I live in LA, you live in New York City, we can share a JPEG file. We can share an image together. We can share a video together. We can share an audio together. I can copy and paste an image and send it to you. You can copy and paste that and send it to your friend in Hong Kong. Instead of sending a letter one by one across the world, all of us simultaneously can have the same cat video to watch immediately. The internet allowed us to share media through space and time. It digitized physical media, brought it online, which added all these benefits, and copy and paste, an infinite scalability of copy and paste was possible in a global instant way. Now, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies allow value to be sent through space and time, and it digitizes value of any kind without duplication or being copied. And so whereas a JPEG or a digital piece of media can be sent and stored and copied, BitTorrent, for example, copies music. It's really easy just to send copy of a copy of a copy. You don't want that for value, right? Because if I had $1 online and I did a copy of my dollar, now I've got $2, I'm printing myself value, I'm printing myself money. So you need digital scarcity on the internet. You need a true fixed scarcity. And again, I'm not trying to go into the technical details here in this conversation, but that's what blockchains do. They take everything we value in the physical world and they turn it into a digital version of that value, which gives it 10x the properties that we're accustomed to in the physical world. And what that means is you can store, fully own, and have settled value amounts that can be transferred anywhere in the world, basically instantaneously and over time, essentially for free. So I can send $1 million to someone in Hong Kong. They have it fully settled, within 10 minutes. They can send it to someone in, Israel. That person can send it to someone in Japan. It's a fully open, permissionless value network that essentially retains the scarcity as the value is passed along between participants. And that is a fundamental invention and breakthrough. And there's so many areas that are being disrupted, in my opinion, based on this, that we can speak about at a later time. And the last thing I just want to show you is that, this adoption curve is happening. And I think we're going to talk in a second about some of the risks. But the thing that I just really want people to be aware of, I know you've heard about this Bitcoin thing, you've heard about cryptocurrencies, you've heard maybe it's a scam, you've heard all this different stuff, and whether or not it succeeds, like the internet succeeded, whether or not social media succeeded, I'm not sure. Will it succeed ultimately? I don't totally know. But what's undisputable at this point is the numbers, the data about the adoption of this asset. And this is a great chart to look at, this is in USD terms, the dollar terms of the adoption of this Bitcoin asset. And as you can see, it's basically heading up and to the right. It went from, essentially less than $1 in 2010 to, in 2020 being upwards of $30,000. And right now, as of time of recording, it's about $60,000. So people are plugging into this crypto network. And the total market cap is about $2 trillion right now. So it took about 10 years to get to $2 trillion of value locked up and being sent and stored in this network. I believe next year, the Bitcoin, or really the crypto internet, which is the internet of value, is going to settle $5 trillion of transactions next year. And this is only going to accelerate because of the adoption curve and because of the network effects. So my question really, and I think the question for every business owner at this stage is, should I invest in the internet? Which is the same question as, should I invest in social media? Which is the same question as, should I invest in mobile? And now my question to you is, should you invest in this value revolution that's going through a adoption curve at a rapid pace? And I think the answer is really whether you do or not. A repricing and shift is happening that is being forced by this internet of value. So just like the New York Times could not ignore the newspaper business having to translate to the digital age, I think whether we choose to participate or not, we're all going to be forced to reprice our businesses in effect. and think about our finances differently because of this forcing function that's happening. So that is the first stage we're going to get through. I kind of hit my target 15 to 20 minutes here. There are many risks. There are many risks of participation, right? The internet has a lot of experiments that didn't work. It's possible this whole experiment doesn't work. But there's also a lot of risks of non-participation, and we can get into more of that in the next session. So that's it for today, and I'll be back again with another video shortly. Thanks.